Good afternoon, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society bringing you a special update regarding Hurricane Melissa. Oh, thank you. I was just freed. I had a cat on my lap the entire time here. So, I started talking and he decided that he wanted to move. So, I am very thankful. Ah, purring his brains out, sleeping. So, we've had some significant changes and some updates since we were live earlier this morning at 9 a.m. Melissa still continues to intensify, and as of the 11 a.m. advisory, we'll get the 2 p.m. out here soon. Uh, Probably before we end this live. We'll make sure that we catch the 2 p.m. intermediate. As of the 11, Melissa is located at 16.4 north, 78.2 degrees west, about 145 miles southwest of Kingston, Jamaica, about 330 miles southwest of Guantanamo, Cuba. Maximum sustained winds 165 miles an hour. Moving west or 270 degrees at 3 miles an hour. Though there has been some southwesterly wobbles, it's trying to figure out what it wants to do. The minimum central pressure has come down to 908 millibars. And this very well may have gone to the 800s, but when I show you guys what has happened, where the hurricane reconnaissance is concerned, we may not get any more recon missions on this for a while. They have discontinued flights. They've abandoned. I don't know if they're going to fly another one in there, but I do know the Kermit that was trying to go in there, and I'll show you guys here, had to abandon the mission. We did not have any changes with this advisory. We still currently have a hurricane warning in effect for Jamaica and for eastern portions of Cuba. We have a hurricane watch in effect for the southeastern and central Bahamas, plus the Turks and Caicos Islands. We also have a tropical storm warning in effect for all of Haiti and including the Cuban province of Las Tunas. And they do not have anything. A hurricane warning may be required for portions of the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands later today or tonight. Interest in Bermuda should also monitor the progress of Melissa. Folks, I'll do this every time. The most important part of the National Hurricane Center public advisory. It's not just, oh, where's the location? What's the pressure? What's the winds? The winds are only one impact, only one factor of a hurricane, and especially of something like this. We also have other impacts, other hazards affecting land. And that's what this portion of the public advisory will discuss. Hazards affecting land. This represents all impacts, not just the wind impact. For our wind, tropical storm conditions are occurring in Jamaica, and catastrophic and life-threatening hurricane-force wind conditions are expected to begin tonight and continue into early Tuesday. Within the eye wall, total structural failure is likely, especially in higher elevation areas where wind speeds atop and on top of the windward side of hills and mountains could be up to 30% stronger. Currently, you're at 165 miles an hour. Now add 30%. And there's definitely 200 mile an hour winds just above the surface within Melissa. Easy 200. I've seen dropson readings that are closer to 240 than they are to 200. Tropical storm conditions are expected to begin in eastern Cuba on Tuesday, with hurricane conditions expected to begin in the hurricane warning area by Tuesday evening. Tropical storm conditions are expected in Haiti late Tuesday and Wednesday. Tropical storm and hurricane conditions are possible for the southeastern and central Bahamas, as well as the Turks and Caicos Islands on Wednesday. As far as our rainfall threat goes, Melissa is expected to bring rainfall of 15 to 30 inches to portions of Jamaica and an additional rainfall of 8 to 16 inches for southern Hispaniola through Wednesday, with storm total local maxima of 40 inches possible. Catastrophic flash flooding and numerous landslides are likely. For eastern Cuba, storm total rainfall of 15 to 20 inches, with local higher amounts, is expected by Monday into Wednesday, resulting in life-threatening and potentially catastrophic flash flooding with numerous landslides. Over the southeastern Bahamas, total rainfall of 4 to 8 inches is expected Tuesday into Wednesday, resulting in areas of flash flooding. Our storm surge. A life-threatening storm surge is likely along the south coast of Jamaica tonight and on Tuesday. Peak storm surge heights could reach 9 to 13 feet above ground level near and to the east of where the center of Melissa makes landfall. This storm surge will be accompanied by large and destructive waves. There is a potential for significant storm surge along the southeast coast of Cuba late Tuesday or Wednesday. Peak storm surge heights could reach 7 to 11 feet above normal tide levels, near and to the east of where the center of Melissa makes landfall. This storm surge will be accompanied by large and destructive waves. Storm surge of 4 to 6 feet above normally dry ground is possible in the southeastern Bahamas and Turks and Caicos Islands on Wednesday. And then our other threat, the surf. We'll put it just as clearly and as bluntly as we could put it. Stay out of the water. I will ask nicely. Please stay out of the water. However, stay out of the water, especially if you are in the Caribbean. Just don't. Not right now. Okay, our forecast track. As you can see here, this is an absolute monster. I have the cone of uncertainty, and now the cone of uncertainty is no longer west of Jamaica. So all of, the cone of uncertainty, the island is now almost, we can say, imminent landfall is going to occur. That being said, small wobbles in these tracks are going to make a huge difference. If this comes in, say if it wobbles 10 miles to the right, wherever the core of this system goes, the storm surge will be the highest just to the east of the storm, of the center of the storm. That's where the wind speeds will be the highest. That is the strongest push of that water up on shore. It is going to be accompanied with some unbelievable waves on top of that as well. And as you can see here, we've got right now with the center line, and again, small wobbles will make a huge difference. If this moves just a little bit up to the left, then areas up here in Black River, you could see that. So, folks, all along this area and east of where the center is going to make landfall. So, folks down here in Lower Southfield, Great Bay, Alligator Pond, you're still going to see surge, but it's going to be just to the right. Please keep in mind that there is a line here, but the storm itself is not a line. All right, it's not. The eye of this is, last I heard, in and around 10, maybe 8 miles, between 8 and 10 miles wide. So if we look and go back to this track, this line is not 8 to 10 miles wide. That would be where the center of the eye goes. All right. So you have to take into account that there is going to be the core of the storm, not a center line. And on the east side of that is where all of this surge is going to take place, where all of this onshore flow is going to happen. And even if you're out here, say, Alligator Pond, you're still going to see a great rise of water. It might not be as high as getting near the where the core of the storm goes. It's still going to be extraordinarily impactful. That's just the surge. We're not talking about the winds. We're not talking about the rain. I just want to make sure that people understand that when you look at these graphics, please understand that this cone is not where just, okay, the impacts are going to occur within that cone, and then that tiny little thin line is representative of the eye, and that's where it's going to make landfall. And so if it's in and around there, you have to understand that the core of the storm itself, and then if you look at the overall size of the wind field, this orange represents the hurricane force winds. Now, it's not this big massive storm, but I can promise you where it shows orange, we don't, keep in mind that's 74 miles an hour and above. We're dealing with a storm right now that was 165 and probably will be stronger at the 2 p.m. Advisory, just due to what we are fixing to go through and learn when we read the forecaster's discussion. And then I have a little snippet from one of our trusted chief meteorologists here in the state of Florida, just giving a little bit more of an explanation on top of what the National Hurricane Center's discussion has. We had almost a catastrophe with Kermit, one of our reconnaissance missions. Now, if we look at the 12Z spaghetti plots on this, again, there's nothing that's outside of, tracking this to the west of Jamaica, unfortunately. This is pretty much set in stone. We are going to see landfall being pretty much imminent. Eastern Cuba, same thing. Again, small little wobbles in that track are going to matter now. That 5-10 mile wobble here and there, when you're dealing with the core, for surge aspects alone, where that core goes, east of that is going to see a great rise of water. So please make sure you are away from the coastline. If you're near the coastline, make sure you're up high enough to be able to avoid any water rise. We do not need to lose anybody to storm surge. We've got plenty of altitude on that island that we should be able to avoid storm surge impacts for as far as fatalities are concerned. So please, folks, don't be near, run from the water, hide from the wind. And now if we compare that with our HCCA, as you can see, the HCCA may be just a touch to the right of where the official forecast line is. And I'm going to bring in our, nope, I think I've already got that in here, don't I? Yes, okay. I want to bring in our Google ensembles as well. DeepMind has performed extraordinarily well. This is the 6Z. Obviously, many of the ensemble members were showing this potentially getting down to 908 millibars and potentially still going lower. So we're waiting on the 12Z to see what the ensemble mean is going to be, because that would have initialized at 8 a.m. this morning and Eastern Daylight Time, and that would represent probably a little bit more. By the time we get to the 18Z tonight, I'm really going to wonder what this particular graphic looks like. Now, for our forecasters discussion, we will have to read all paragraphs with this because this top paragraph is extraordinarily important. Melissa has the classic strong hurricane appearance in satellite imagery this morning, with a well-defined 10 nautical mile wide embedded in a central dense overcast with cloud tops colder than 80 degrees Celsius, negative 80 degrees Celsius. The hurricane also has a large complex of outer banding over the eastern semicircle and a circulation that covers most of the Caribbean west of 70 degrees west longitude. Reports from NOAA and Air Force Reserve Hurricane Hunter aircraft indicate that the central pressure has fallen to near 908 millibars, with both aircraft releasing dropsondes in the northeastern eye wall that support an initial intensity of 145 knots. The NOAA aircraft left the storm early after experiencing severe turbulence in the southwestern eye wall. And again, I've got Brooks Gardner and his write-up in Facebook on that to add a little bit more context to that here momentarily. The eye is wobbling around due to the slow motion, but the best estimate of the initial motion is 270 degrees at 3 knots. The mid-level ridge north of Melissa is weakening as a deep layer mid-latitude trough moves eastward through the southeastern United States. This should cause the hurricane to turn northward during the next 12 hours or so at a continued slow forward speed. After 24 hours, Melissa should turn northeastward with some increase in forward speed as the mid-latitude westerly flow becomes the dominant steering mechanism. This general motion should continue for the rest of the forecast period. On the forecast track, the center of Melissa will be near or over Jamaica late tonight or early Tuesday, cross eastern Cuba Tuesday night or early Wednesday, and then move near or over the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos on Wednesday. After that, the cyclone could reach the vicinity of Bermuda on Thursday night. The new forecast track has some minor adjustments from the previous track and is a blend of the HFIP corrected consensus, which is the ACCA, and the Google DeepMind ensemble mean and the other consensus models. So since we mentioned the other consensus models, there is our HCCA and the TVCN. Two consensus models that we can show there. The TVCN looks to be just a little bit to the left or a little bit to the west there of the HCCA, so that would make sense as to why the National Hurricane Center was just a little bit to the west there of the HCCA. Some fluctuations in intensity are likely during the next 12 to 24 hours due to the possibility that Melissa will start an eye wall replacement cycle. However, this is unlikely to weaken Melissa significantly, and there is no practical difference in Melissa making landfall in Jamaica at a Category 4 or 5 intensity, since both categories produce catastrophic wind damage. After reaching Jamaica, a combination of land interaction and increasing southwesterly shear should cause some weakening, although Melissa is still forecast to be a major hurricane when it reaches Cuba. Once over the Atlantic, stronger shear should cause more substantial weakening, and Melissa is expected to become extratropical by the end of the forecast period. The new intensity forecast has minor adjustments from the previous and follows the trend of the intensity consensus. And there it is, folks. 120 hours post-tropical. Now, granted, that's already past Bermuda, so Bermuda, you still must keep an eye on this. But our forecast, as you could see, for intensities within the next 24 hours maintain this as a Category 5 storm, and that would be absolutely devastating for folks here in Jamaica and for those elevated areas. Even if we use the lower value of 160, you must add 30% of that back to that number, which is 30% of 160 is 48, and at that point you are looking at 208 miles an hour on those windward side and elevated areas. So winds in excess of 200 miles an hour is very, very likely. Our forecast advisory, just to kind of show everybody here, getting into those, you have maximum winds of 145 knots, but then your gusts are up to 175 knots over the next 12 hours. In that 24-hour period, back down to 160 or 140 knots, but the gusts remain at 170, which is very close to 190 to 195 miles an hour. Now let's add height. So please, folks, shelter in place. Find the strongest, most sturdiest building that you have. Are you serious? You really did that? Yes. I want to go back. Thank you. All right, from Brooks Gardner here, Fox 35 in Orlando, chief meteorologist, very, very intelligent individual. Highly recommend giving him a follow. Hurricane hunters abort mission because Melissa is too violent. Turbulence exceeds plane's structural integrity thresholds. NOAA's Kermit, hurricane hunter, just faced its most violent mission in years as the crew penetrated the southwest eye wall of the Category 5 hurricane. The P3 Orion 4-engine turboprop was slammed by extreme turbulence, forcing them up nearly 1,000 feet in an instant. Because the forces violated predetermined structural limits, they were forced to abort the mission and return to base for inspection. Once, one scientist described the southwestern quadrant as a quote-unquote high-end roller coaster. The turbulence was so violent that his phone lifted out of its cup holder, floated weightless in midair, and then crashed back down. They experienced roughly a plus 4 Gs in the ascent, followed by negative 2 Gs in the drop. Once inside the eye, the scene defied expectations. Instead of the classic stadium effect, the crew found what one called a narrow cylinder of doom. The tighter the eye, the stronger the winds. And some dropson readings reportedly showed winds over 180 miles an hour near the surface. Despite the chaos, everybody on board is safe. These hurricane hunters brave the planet's most extreme conditions to gather data that improves forecasts and saves lives across the Caribbean. So, shout out to the NOAA hurricane hunters. I'm glad you guys made it home safe, because that's crazy. And it was this mission right here. As you could see, they only made one pass. Come in that southwestern eye wall, turned right back around and said, "We are going home." And I'm glad that they've made it back safely. I really am, because that was crazy. We still got the Air Force in there. 908. What you guys working with here? You dropping dropsons? What do we got? What you got for us? Southeast eye wall. Dropson number 25. Not too far off the surface. 184 knots, the highest value here at the 901 millibar level. Pull up the crayons. At this one right here, 901 millibars, 184 knots, and it was splashed down at the surface at 925 millibars. So there's only a 24 millibar difference. This is not very far off the ground. And as you can see, 147 knots here at the surface and right above at the 924. Let's check some of the other dropsondes. Let's go for the northern eye wall and check here. Our highest value here, 925 millibar level, 172 knots. It splashed down at the surface at 942. The reason that I'm showing this, folks, is because we know that there is elevated terrain there on Jamaica. Jamaica's not flat. This is at the surface. This is over the ocean water. This is what's going to be up 176. I do apologize there. At the 921. So we weren't missing much. But these are the winds that are going to be also impacting the island. And so much so that I've even got halves that I'll show you here in a moment. I do want to go through, we've got the northeast eye wall, and whoa, whoa, whoa. You do not want to be in that front right quadrant. Whoa. So it made splashdown at the 927 millibar. At the 922, which is what you could throw a rock up there maybe. It's not very far. And okay, maybe not. You're not going to throw a rock, but you know, look at this. The mean wind in the lowest 150 meters. 185 knots. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. 922, 920, 917 are all showing values above 193 knots. We have 193 at the 917, 197 at the 920, and 194 at the 922. The dropson hit the surface at 927. Please, folks. Wow. Wow. And if that wasn't as bad, if we take a look at some of our remote sensing satellite, they've got an 8.0. I did see corrected consensus earlier of an 8.3, which we don't see that in the Atlantic. We're talking West Pacific numbers at this point. We're talking way out there in the West Pacific, talking about super typhoons, which if this was in the Western Pacific, it would be classified as a super typhoon. This is going to potentially go down as some of the highest ranked system in history, and potentially we'll have to see if it rivals Dorian for landfall at wind speed. I hope not, but I can guarantee you that we're going to see gusts higher than 200 miles an hour if it remains in the state that it's in. No doubt in my mind. Now, our wind speeds, I'm going to flip that over because I do want to get to halves because this is the 6Z halves. Now, we may be getting the 12 loading here momentarily, but what I have is our 10-meter wind speeds in knots. All right, this is just straight 10 meters off the ground wind speeds. And as I roll this forward, the reason that I want to show this is for our impacts into Jamaica. Now, boom, as you can see, 36 hours from the 6Z, so that would have been 36 hours from 6Z would have been 2 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, so then you figure sometime 2 p.m. tomorrow. Which it's all obviously it's already made landfall, so it's already moved in. So don't trust this as far as timing is concerned. That's not why I have this up. What I want to show is the overall winds and how they impact the island. Now, when we look there, that's the surface winds. You see a lot of impact. No question about it. You see some of these extremely high values here. If we take it just one frame right before it got offshore here at 33 hours, our maximum winds are 153.8 knots. So, we're talking about an absolute monster. Here's the thing. That is the sustained winds. Now I'm going to click on the gusts. And as you can see, the gusts shot up 165.5 knots at that point in time. And would at 153.8, if you're going to equate the gusts, you can at least add back 20%. So it would need to go up potentially around 30. And that's what you see when you look at the forecasters' discussion from the National Hurricane Center. You always see kind of like that 20% rate when you get to strengths and intensities up this high. Now, here we are, and now I'm going to drop this on land. Keep in mind, here's our gusts. This is severe. This would basically put severe gusts here along the entire western side of the island. And as you can see, even as it moves off, there's still going to be some very blustery conditions. And then Cuba's turn. Then it reemerges. Now it's the southeastern Bahamas, central Bahamas, and the Turks and Caicos turn. And keep in mind, folks, this is gusts. That's not sustained winds. Sustained winds is completely different. They're going to be lower. All right, so this is one of the things that I want to make sure to highlight. Halves A has it as a very strong Category 5 as it is approaching land. So I'm using that as a reference or comparable to just try to show what some of the winds and the wind gusts themselves could be like as it is trying to track across the island. Remember, we saw a little line earlier. That's not a line. Anything in the brown or up represents hurricane force gusts. So you're looking at least half the island. Now that we've talked about those gusts, let's take a look at our wind speed probabilities. Bermuda, you have gone up. You are now up to a 64% chance of seeing tropical storm force winds, a 29% chance of seeing those 50 knot or 58 mile an hour winds, and we have a 10% chance of seeing those hurricane force winds. Great Exuma, 39% chance of tropical storm force winds, 16% chance of those 50 knot or 58 mile an hour winds, and a 7% chance of seeing those 64 knot or hurricane force winds. We have here for San Salvador 56% chance of seeing those tropical storm force winds. We have our 28% chance of seeing those 50 knot winds, and a 14% chance of seeing hurricane force winds. Mayaguana, we have 83% chance of seeing tropical storm force winds, a 45% chance of seeing those 50 knot winds, and a 26% chance of seeing our hurricane force winds. And we have the 2. Thank you, James. Oh, okay. As of the 2 p.m. advisory, Monster Melissa is located at 16.5 north, 78.3 west, about 145 miles southwest of Kingston, Jamaica, about 325 miles southwest of Guantanamo, Cuba. Maximum sustained winds are up to 175 miles an hour. Movement is west-northwest at 3 miles an hour. Minimum central pressure, 906 millibars. We had no changes with our watches or warnings with this advisory. Everybody is still, hurricane warnings are the same. Hurricane watches are the same. Tropical storm warnings are the same. Folks in Bermuda still monitor. There's no change there. As far as our hazards affecting land, I have no changes. Still 15 to 30 inches of rain with possible up to 40 for Jamaica, 8 to 16 for southern Hispaniola, eastern Cuba 15 to 20 with local higher amounts, and then the southeast Bahama 4 to 8 inches. Storm surge, we're still there. Oh, look at that. We get a backside surge. We're still at 9 to 13 feet above ground level near and east of where the center makes landfall. But now, on the northwest coast of Jamaica, near Montego Bay, there is the possibility of 1 to 3 feet of storm surge above ground level as the storm comes offshore and the waters sling back around on the western side of the circulation. Onshore flow, counterclockwise rotation of the storm. And in any north-facing beach, that would be, your onshore flow would be on the western side. And then we still have 7 to 11 feet above normal tide levels for Cuba and 4 to 6 feet above normally dry ground. So please understand the difference. Above normal tide levels and then above normally dry ground. The above normally dry ground means that you are going to have 4 to 6 feet on areas that of water that are normally dry on an everyday basis. Down there, like at the beach where the tide comes in, the tide goes out. Well, that high tide line, just you could start from that point there at the extreme high tide line, and then 4 to 6 feet of water above that. And surf, as always, stay out of the water. We're dealing with a monster here. Now, the next advisory will be a primary advisory, and we will get potential track adjustments with that. Mission 20, Air Force Reconnaissance, they're done. They are going home. Thank you for your service, ladies and gentlemen. Not knowing who's on the plane, but I'm sure that there is a diverse of genders there. So thank you for your service, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Let's see. What else do we have? Our rainfall forecast. We'll hit the refresh on that. Still looking at catastrophic rainfall amounts here for the majority of Jamaica with an isolated 30 inches plus. Anything in that purple is 500 to 750 millimeters or 20 to 30 inches of rain. And as you could see, even though we are in the lower confidence portion of the forecast, our rainfall totals here for southern Hispaniola and eastern Cuba have not changed. Although expect them to change potentially due to the fact that they are in that lower confidence forecast area. So that's what and the next update for this will come out at the 5 p.m. advisory. So we will get some update. 21 UTC is the equivalent of the next primary advisory. All right, what else do we have besides our key messages? I set up for rainfall. We're going to just go with the National Hurricane Center's official forecast and not necessarily rely on our global models like the Euro or the GFS. Hey, give me back my crayons. Thank you. Key messages for Jamaica. Do not venture out of your safe shelter. Don't. Stay indoors. Catastrophic and life-threatening flash flooding and numerous landslides are likely today through Tuesday. Catastrophic winds in the eyewall have the potential to cause total structural failure, especially in higher elevation areas tonight and early Tuesday. This will result in extensive infrastructural damage, long-lasting power and communication outages, and isolated communities. Life-threatening storm surge and damaging waves are expected along the southern coast through Tuesday. For Haiti and the Dominican Republic, catastrophic and life-threatening flash flooding and landslides are expected across southwestern Haiti and the southern portions of the Dominican Republic through midweek. In Haiti, extensive infrastructural damage and isolation of communities is likely. Tropical storm conditions are expected late Tuesday and Wednesday. For eastern Cuba, heavy rainfall with life-threatening and potentially catastrophic flash flooding and landslides is expected beginning today. Life-threatening storm surge and damaging winds are expected late Tuesday and Tuesday night. Preparations should be rushed to completion. Number 4, southeastern Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos. I am going to include the central Bahamas there as well because you are also under a hurricane watch. Hurricane conditions, life-threatening storm surge, and heavy rainfall are possible on Wednesday. Residents should follow advice given by local officials and be sure to have preparations complete by Tuesday night. So, Eastern Cuba, all preparations should be rushed to completion. In the watch area, you still have time, but you need to get your preparations completed as well as soon as possible. The sooner you have your preparations completed, you may then be freed to help another finish their preparations. So you can have a community-wide effort of helping to keep people prepared and safe. All right, before I sign off here this afternoon, I have had too many requests. The government of Jamaica is still yelling at me, so I'm going to leave them alone in hopes that we get the radar back at the 5. They don't like me right now because I have been stalking their radar and any information that I can get my hands on. So, and there's a lot of people out there that are working on this, folks. So please, everybody, make sure you stay safe. Follow your official sources. You can find that right here at the International Meteorology Database that my daughter created, and so she's a part of this Tropical Weather Threat Society. Although I love her dearly, my child is a full-time student at Florida State University and holds 3 jobs. So she's not here. She's only done 1 live this season, but we still support her and her future endeavors and everything that she is seeking to achieve. All right, everybody. I don't see much for questions. Really wasn't expecting too much here this afternoon, being that everybody is in, doing what they're doing. So I am going to go ahead and sign off here for a little while. We will be back at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central with our normal coverage, where we will then jump out into the other parts of the world and see exactly what's going on out there. And though our main focus will obviously remain Melissa. So until then, stay safe, everybody. Stay weather aware, and we'll talk to you here again in a few hours.